Welcome back to Runeverse. I'm Andrew, and this is the second of the quarterfinals of my Flesh and Blood tournament, so it's time to randomly choose the pairings for this second matchup. So I've got this six-sided die here. I'm just going to roll 1 through 6. Previously, we had Prism versus Briar. Go back and check out that video to find out who's going to be in the semifinals. But for now, let's see what we've got here. So I rolled a 3, which means Kano, against number 6, which is Oldhim. So these are both characters I have not yet played before. And this is the Oldhim starter deck, the pre-constructed deck. The Kano is a budget Blitz deck, the official Legend Story Studios list from their website. So let's take a look at Oldhim first, I suppose. So he is a elemental guardian hero. He's got 20 health and 4 intellect, which is the standard for hand size. Essence of Earth and Ice means he can play with Earth and Ice elemental cards in his deck. And once per turn, defense reaction, spend 3 resources, and if an Earth card is pitched this way, prevent the next 2 damage that we dealt to him. And if an Ice card is pitched this way, the attacking hero puts a card from their hand on top of their deck. And he's going to be playing with Titan's Fist. Once per turn, spend 3 resources to attack with it. It attacks for 3. And while there is a card with cost 3 or greater in your pitch zone, it has +1 damage. And Oldhim is going to be creating Frostbite tokens, I believe. So we'll see those coming up in his deck here. Cards and activated abilities you control cost an additional resource, so that's an effect that you'll give to your opponent very graciously. And then as soon as they play something or end their turn, this card will go away, this token. And this Seismic Surge is also in the stack, so perhaps they'll be creating Seismic Surge tokens as well. At the beginning of your action phase, destroy this, and the next Guardian attack card you play costs 1 resource less. So it'll make your opponent's stuff more expensive with Frostbite and make your own stuff cheaper with the Seismic Surge. Next up we have Kano the Wizard, also a young hero. Now he diverges from the norm. He's still got that 4 intellect, but as you can see he has only 15 life, which is 5 less than usual, so hopefully he will make up for that. And as an instant he can spend 3 resources to look at the top card of your deck, and if it is a non-attack action card, banish it, and if you do, you can play it this turn as though it were an instant. So we'll see if we're able to pull that off. Alright, so I did double check, but it looks like the official budget Blitz deck for Kano does not have him wielding a weapon. So I looked it up, and there is a Crucible of Aetherweave 2-handed staff that Kano could wield, and would let him spend resources to add arcane damage to his spells. But the list doesn't include it. I don't know if it was an oversight or whether it was an intentional balancing aspect. Certainly wasn't a budget choice because the card is available for under $1, but here I'm going to be playing without it because that is how the list was presented. And if Oldhim completely runs over Kano, then I'll probably re-record the video with the weapon, but in that case you won't be seeing this recording. So if you're watching now, we should have a good game on our hands one way or the other. And I didn't mention before that Oldhim also has this rotten old buckler. So he has the one-handed Titan's Fist we just looked at, but he also has the buckler, which basically can prevent 1 damage from a normal attack. But that won't stop arcane damage, so it might not do anything here against Kano. And we're going to get a free redraw, so we may as well go all in here during our turn. I think Kano has a lot of instants and actually likes to play things on the opponent's turn. So we're going to start out by pitching this blue card for 3 resources in order to use Kano's ability. We just look at the top card of our deck. If it is a non-attack action card, we may banish it. So this is a non-attack action card. We may banish it and play this turn as though it were an instant. So we got this Reverberate, which we can now play from Banish. It says deal an arcane damage to the opposing hero, and if it deals damage, I can banish a wizard non-attack action card from my hand with resource cost less than or equal to the damage dealt by Reverberate, and I can play it as though it were an instant. So this is an action. It is going to take up our action for the turn. You know what? I'm not going to play that, and we don't have to banish it with the ability, so we just got to look at it. We paid 3 resources for the privilege, but again, we're getting a free redraw, so let's just leave that where it was. We're going to pitch for another 3 resources with this blue card, and instead I'm going to use my action to play Forked Lightning. It says deal 2 damage to target hero and deal 2 damage to target hero. Sorry, I missed the word arcane both times. So this is not a normal attack. You'll notice there's no damage symbol down in the bottom left corner. It's not attacking for damage, it's just going to do this effect of dealing arcane damage, which is much harder to prevent. And in fact, Oldhim is not going to prevent it, so he's just going to take 4 damage there and go down to 16 here right off the bat. And then Kano will end his turn by putting this 4th card into his arsenal. These 2 pitched cards will go to the bottom of his deck, and he will draw 4 cards. So already the life is almost equalized here, but Oldhim is not going to mess around either. So he's going to open up with... Actually, you know what? Let's just do the Goliath Gauntlet. This is Oldhim's arm equipment. It says action, destroy it, and our next attack action card with 2 or greater attack gains go again. I guess we could save that for a moment. We're going to play a non-attack action first. But we may as well put that on deck here. So let's play Weave Ice. So this is a 0 cost. It says the next ice or elemental attack action card you play this turn has +3 damage, and if it's fused, it gains Dominate. And has go again, so we're going to follow that up by pitching these 2 blue cards for 6 resources and playing Glacial Footsteps. And of course, we're cracking that Goliath Gauntlet as well for +2, which means the 3 here, 2 here, plus the 10 here, we're attacking for 15. And unfortunately, we cannot fuse it because we had to pitch our hand there. But attacking for 15, even if Kano can block with more than 1 card, seems pretty good. And I think Kano might just have to block with his whole hand here. Blocking for 12, still going to take 3 damage. And we'll play this Fate for Speen. It's a defense reaction. It's the card he put in his arsenal, and it's going to let him opt 1. So it's a defense reaction, so I'm pretty sure this is the time when we'd play that, is after we block. And we're going to look at the top card, and we may put it on the bottom. I think I will send it to the bottom here, and so Kano's not going to be able to do anything once his turn does come around. So we're going to take 3 and go to 12. So Oldhim is pretty satisfied with that. That worked out just fine. And he'll go ahead and end his turn here with 4 cards. And Kano's got no cards, so all he can do is pass the turn and draw 4 to end his turn. So let's see if Oldhim can build up another 15 damage turn. It's not quite 15, but he's also not messing around here. So let's use the Code of Frost just to put a little extra pressure onto Kano. So it says destroy this, and we're going to give him a Frostbite, and then we can go again. So again, the Frostbite is going to mean that the next time Kano wants to play a card or activate an ability, it's going to cost an extra resource, and it'll go away at the end of his turn. So the Code of Frost is used up, and then we're going to play Winter's Bite, which is a 0 cost action, non-attack, and it says target hero discards a card unless they pay 2 resources, and then this has go again. And I think Kano will just go ahead and pay the 3 resources here, so I'll mark that he has paid 3 resources and put that into his pitch zone. And then after the Winter's Bite, Oldhim will again pitch for 6 resources and play another Glacial Footsteps for 10 damage. Again, we can't fuse it. We could have kept that Winter's Bite in our hand in order to fuse the Glacial Footsteps, but then we wouldn't have been able to play Winter's Bite because Glacial Footsteps does not have go again, so we would have ended Oldhim's turn by putting the Winter's Bite into Arsenal. But I decided rather than go for Dominate, just play the Winter's Bite. It's already going to take a card out of Kano's hand, even though he can still now block with up to 3 cards. And I guess Kano's just going to keep blocking until Oldhim can't throw double-digit damage his way, so we're going to block for 4, 7, 10 here and avoid any damage from those Glacial Footsteps. So Oldhim will put these pitched cards to the bottom and draw a new hand. So Kano can clean up his pitched card here from Oldhim's turn, and then during Kano's turn again, he's got no cards, so he will end his turn by drawing 4, and that means the Frostbite's gone. So this is a much less exciting hand from Oldhim. He does have another Glacial Footsteps, but this is a blue one, which means it only deals 8 damage. He's actually going to pitch that for 3 resources because he does not even have the option of playing it because he doesn't have 6 among his other 3 cards here. So we're going to pitch that for 3 plus this card here for 1. So very powerful blocking card, which won't really work well against Kano. So we're going to pitch that to 4 resources and play Thump. We're going to end up putting this into our arsenal. Thump says that if its attack is greater than its base attack, it has Dominate, and if it hits, the opponent will discard a card. Unfortunately, we cannot increase its attack, so it's just going to be attacking for 6. So then Kano will block with these 2 cards for a total of 5 and end up taking 1 from the thump, going down to 11. And as I mentioned, that was all Oldhim had, so we'll put that there, put this here, put this into the arsenal, and get a new 4. So Kano actually has 2 cards to work with this turn, and he's going to pitch this blue card for 3 resources and spend 2 of them in order to play Ether Spindle here. Ether Spindle says deal 4 arcane damage to opposing hero and opt X, where X is the damage dealt by Ether Spindle. So it's just 4 damage coming straight in. Again, this is arcane damage and it is not dealing the normal type of damage. However, I do believe that Oldhim doesn't care what type of damage it is. With his once per turn defense reaction, he can pitch or pay 3 resources, and if an earth card is pitched this way, prevent the next 2 damage that would be dealt to him. It doesn't specify that it can't be arcane damage. I just know that normal blocking doesn't work against arcane damage. So he should be able to pitch this blue card here from his hand, which is an earth card, in order to get 3 resources in order to pay for that ability and prevent 2, which means he's just going to take 2 damage from the Ether Spindle and go down to 14, which means that Kano only gets to opt 2. We're going to put 1 on the top and 1 on the bottom and end our turn there. Drawing 4 new cards. Okay, so Oldhim will put his pitch card to the bottom and play with his 3 cards plus his arsenal. And unfortunately, Oldhim's hand was all blue cards, which are the versions of cards that deal the most damage. They make the most resources, but they deal the least damage. So I think we're just going to have to settle for an 8 damage Glacial Footsteps, pitching these 2 blue cards for 6 resources to pay for the 6 cost. Again, we're not going to be able to fuse ice, so it's just an 8 damage attack. But 8 is a lot, so Kano has to review his options. And I had such a big turn planned for Kano, and I was willing to take the 8 for it, but I had misread Robe of Rapture, which says gain 3 resources as an action, does not say go again. So it kind of ruined the plan. I guess you have to use this with instants. You can't just use this and then follow up with an action, because this doesn't have go again. You can't even use the Mage Master Boots to give the ability go again, because it only applies to non-attack action cards. So the big combo turn I had planned for Kano is not going to work, and instead we're just going to block for 8. So yet again, we're going down to 1 card this time instead of 0, which is nice, and we're going to take 0 damage. And that's all Kano can do, so he will pass back and draw 4. And all Kano can do here is play Sunkiss. So it costs 0, and it says gain 3 health. And we have not played a card named Moonwish, so we're not going to get any of that. But that's going to bring our life up to 14 for a tie game. And then we'll draw a new hand. Still heartbroken about that combo turn that never was. Okay, so Oldhim's going to pitch Mulch for 3 resources here, blue Mulch, and play Strength of Sequoia. This is also a blue card, but we're playing it for the effect here, and it is an aura, which means it's going to come into play. It has go again, so we're going to be able to do another action after this. It has Earth Fusion, so we're going to reveal an Earth card from our hand in order to fuse it. And because it was fused, we're going to get a Seismic Surge token. Seismic Surge at the beginning of our next action phase. We're going to destroy this, and our next Guardian attack is going to cost 1 less, so that'll be for next turn. But for now, we're just putting this into play, but this also has an effect for next turn, which is that also at the beginning of our action phase, this is going to be destroyed and add 1 to our next attack action. So these both will be for later on, but for now, we are going to pitch another 3. We've spent 2 of that, 6, so we have 4 left, and we're going to play this Red Thump. Again, if Thump's attack is greater than its printed attack, it's going to have additional effects. That's not applying here, so we're just attacking for the printed value of 6, because this is a red Thump, unlike our previous blue Thump. We're just going to block with this Fate Foreseen here, but we're not doing it in the blocking step. We're going to do it after the defense reaction step. I believe this is how this works. It still gets to block for 2, but we also get to the effect, which is going to be opt 1, because this is a defense reaction card. So we're going to prevent 2 of that 4 damage, and we're going to get to opt 1. So we're preventing 2 of the 6, and we're taking 4. So we're going to go down to 10, and we will look at the top card and decide whether to put it back. And I think let's keep that one there. So Oldhim can clean up his turn here. Still got that card in Arsenal from a couple turns ago. So Kano is going to pitch for 3 here now on his turn. And then he's going to spend 1 of it to use the Mage Master Boots, which says his next non-attack action card is going to have Go Again. And this also has Go Again. And we'll spend the other 2 resources here to play Voltic Bolt, which just straight up does 5 arcane damage, and because of the boots, it's going to have Go Again, with this 1 card remaining in our hand here. And again, blocking doesn't really work against arcane damage, and Oldhim doesn't have Spell Void, but he does have his built-in defense reaction that he can pay 3 resources, and if it is an Earth card, it will prevent 2 damage. He does not have an Earth card, but he does have an Ice card, and if it's an Ice card pitched this way, the attacking hero puts a card from their hand on top of their deck, which puts Oldhim in an interesting situation because he does have 1 Ice card, but it's what he's been waiting for in order to play this from Arsenal with Fusion. He's got another card in his hand that cares about Ice Fusion. It's also a card he'd kind of just like to play, and it doesn't even pitch for 3, so he would have to spend an extra card. But the reason it's so tempting is that Kano has already committed one of his equipment to giving Go Again, and if we make him put the remaining card in his hand on top of his deck, he will miss out that opportunity. But because we'd have to pay 2 cards for it, and we lose the Ice card we've been waiting for a while, I think we're going to just let it happen here, and we're going to go down to 9. And again, because Oldhim didn't have any Earth cards, he wouldn't have been able to prevent the damage anyway, but that was his window to be able to play the reaction and make us lose this card. But instead, we're going to play it, and it is a 0-cost zap that's going to deal an extra 3 damage. So it doesn't make sense for Oldhim to use his ability now, because we've got no cards left in his hand, and again, he's got no Earth cards with which to prevent damage, so he'll just take 3 and go down to 6. Clean this up here and pass the turn. And now Oldhim gets some exciting stuff that hopefully he can make some headway with. We're going to do this Seismic Surge as we start our action phase, which means our next attack is going to cost 1 resource less. And we're going to crack this Strength of Sequoia, which is not optional. It is automatically happening as we start our action phase, but that's going to add a damage to our next attack. So after that, all that awkwardly, Oldhim is still not going to be fusing. The cards just didn't work out because we're going to have to be playing this Ice card here. So we're going to pitch this yellow card for 2 resources, spend 1 to play Polar Blast. It says target opposing hero might pay 2 resources. If they don't, our next attack is going to have Dominate. So let's see what Kano wants to do about that. I think Kano will let it have Dominate. So Oldhim will then take advantage of the Seismic Surge cost reduction here to play Snow Under for only 2 instead of 3. And again, because of the Strength of Sequoia, it's going to be +1 damage, so it's attacking for 6. It'll have Dominate because of Polar Blast, but it wasn't fused, so it won't have any other effects. So this is just an attack for 6 with Dominate. We did have to pitch another card for that in order to have enough resources. So that's a total of 3 pitched and 1, 2, 3 with the cost reduction. Kano's going to play a defense reaction again here. We got Sink Below. So like before, it's a defense reaction. We're going to block for 4 and get the ability here. So 4 from 6 is 2, so we'll go down to 8. And the Sink Below effect said we can put a card at the bottom of our deck and draw a card. So we'll do that. And discard Sink Below. And Oldhim will again clean up and put this remaining card into his arsenal. Kano's got a pretty simple turn. He's going to pitch this Blue Reverberate to play Forked Lightning, which is going to deal 2 damage twice. Oldhim does not have Earth in his hand, so he's not going to be able to prevent any of that damage. And unfortunately, that's going to put Oldhim down to 2, or unfortunately for Oldhim at least. And he could have pitched an Ice card to make Kano put this into his hand, or into his deck, but chose not to. So we'll put this into our arsenal here and end Kano's turn. So Oldhim's going to pitch for 3 here and spend 2 of it to play another Strength of Sequoia. So again, this is a go again, and next turn it's going to add damage to our next attack, although this is a red one, so it's going to add 3 damage. But we cannot fuse Earth, so we don't get a Seismic Surge. We have 1 resource left, but we're not going to spend it. We're going to pitch for another 3 and spend 3 to play Snow Under, which has Ice Fusion, but we're out of cards. We had to pitch the Amulet of Ice in order to make the resources we need to attack. So this is just going to be an attack for 7. Well, Kano is at 8. He could take 7 if he wants to. But he's going to block for 6 and take 1 of that going down to 7. Keeping 2 cards in his hand as well as his arsenal. And that's pretty much all Oldhim can do, wasting 1 resource. And keeping this card here in arsenal, although he will have the Strength of Sequoia for +3 damage next turn. So Kano is going to pitch index, this blue index, for 3 resources, and he's going to spend one of them to play this card from his arsenal. This is a Reverberate. Reverberate red costs 1. It's dealing 3 arcane damage, and if it deals damage, he can banish a wizard non-attack action card from his hand with resource cost less than the damage dealt by Reverberate in order to play it as though it were an instant this turn. So we'll see if it does any damage. And unfortunately for Oldhim, the best he can do is use his once per turn defense reaction to pitch an ice card, which is going to make Kano put the card from his hand on top of his deck, so he won't be able to follow up from Reverberate, but Reverberate's going to deal 3 damage, and Oldhim is at 2. Again, it's arcane damage. He can't block, so that is it for Oldhim. Now, if he had an Earth card in his hand, obviously he would have prevented 2 of the damage using the Earth mode of the defense reaction in order to reduce Reverberate's damage down to 1, but that would still let Kano play a card that costs 1 or less from his hand for free, or as though it were an instant rather, because this is his only action for the turn, so he would need to play it as an instant, and Zap is a wizard action that costs 0 here, and he would be able to play that as an instant for 0 resources and deal another 3 damage. So either way, Oldhim was done here. So definitely came off strong. Oldhim attacked for 15 and then 10 on the first 2 turns. I thought Kano was going to be in trouble, but he was able to prevent a lot of that damage just by blocking, taking turns off, and waiting for Oldhim to have weaker draws, and then sneak in arcane damage here and there that Oldhim really can't do much about, unless he does have that Earth card at the right time in order to soak 2 of it. But anyway, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the rest of the tournament series. Next up will be another quarterfinals match with random pairings between 4 of the remaining heroes. We've already seen our first quarterfinals match between Briar and Prism, so you'll see the winner of that and Kano in the semifinals. And actually, they would be matched up against each other, so there you go. We know one of our semifinals matches now. Thanks for watching. Subscribe so we can get more subscribers, and bye.